Hello, Pittsburgh Steeler fans. Hello out there in Steeler Nation. This is your latest episode of the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. I'm Pittsburgh Owen, your voice from across the pond, and today we're going to be saying, why should the Pittsburgh Steelers take a quarterback in this forthcoming draft? I know that may be an unpopular opinion with amongst some of Steeler Nation. I know that perhaps the Pittsburgh Steelers top brass may not respect that comment either, but I believe there are a couple of reasons why the Steelers should not take a quarterback in this forthcoming draft. First and foremost, I think the depth of talent at other positions and positions of need for the Steelers is so high that they would be they're in a position to actually set this franchise up for the future. Given all the excellent work already done in free agency by Kevin Colbert, Brandon Hunt, and Omar Khan, at bringing in players like Miles Jack, like James Daniels to address positions of need. We're in a position now where we could use the draft to really supplement that roster and build this team ready for a future franchise quarterback. Secondly, I think Mitch Trubisky is definitely worth giving him a season. I've seen some pretty impressive comparisons between him and other top quarterbacks, where his stats more than stack up against other quarterbacks like Tannehill, like Carr, who have gone on to do well in the NFL after their first 4 seasons as well. So, also, it could be a position where the likes of Malik Willis, Des Ridder, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, some of those guys who are good prospects. Let's not get away from the fact last year's quarterback draft, they wouldn't have gone in that top 5. Do we really want to be selling the farm and giving away future draft capital to trade up, which we're probably going to have to do to get the likes of Pickett and Willis? Probably not, especially given the fact this team has other needs that still need to be addressed. But the biggest thing for me is the depth of talent at other positions. For example, wide receiver, cornerback, safety, defensive line. These are all big positions of strength in this NFL draft that we could really go and get some real quality young players who could come in and improve this franchise for the long term. And could get them on good rookie contracts to help us continue to build the franchise around these players. Defensive line becomes a concern for me because, yes, we've got Cam Hayward and Tyson Alualu is set to return, and Tyson will be a valuable re-addition to the team, given the fact that we were often gashed straight down the middle where Tyson would have been by opposition running attacks. But Tyson isn't getting any younger. He's 35 years old when the season starts. So long-term, we do need a long-term replacement for him. And as good as Montravius Adams or Chris Wormley are, they're not long-term replacements. I don't think starting replacements for Tyson Alualu. And the Stephen Tuitt situation continues to frustrate many in Steeler Nation. What is he intending to do this season? Is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? We cannot face a situation like last year where we're playing a guessing game with what is happening with Stephen Tuitt. We need to sit him down and find out for definite what he's going to do. If he's going to return, if he's not going to return. If he isn't, we need to cut him. I know that's harsh, but this is now time to really focus on the team. So let's start off by looking at the defensive line prospects at this draft. And there are some real quality talents in the D line in the NFL draft in 2022. So if we look at this thing, obviously Jordan Davis is the stud amongst the class, but there's a likelihood that Jordan Davis will be gone long before the Steelers come to pick at 20. DeMarvin Leal, Devontae Wyatt are other good first-round prospects. Even early second, they could fall. I have seen Devontae Wyatt fall to second. Devontae Wyatt, for example, is a real game wrecker. Someone who I think if we put him into the defensive line, got Brian Flores to work with him, could become an absolute weapon for the future. Available in the second could be someone like a Fedarian Mathis or a Perion Winfrey or a Travis Jones. Travis Jones, if they haven't seen him play, is an absolute beast of a human being. You know, he came from a small school in Yukon, but if you look at his Senior Bowl tape, he was making big school offensive linemen look very silly, and he is a game wrecker and would be a great pick in that second round. Neil Farrell Jr., Haskell Garrett is another Ron who's on the rise, Zachary Carter, and right at the bottom there. But also you've got the likes of Matt Henningsen from Wisconsin, who isn't on that list, another one who could be available in the 3rd or 4th round and could be moldable. But with the quality of defensive linemen there, Steelers would be daft to pick not to pick someone in that first 3 rounds from that defensive line class to really improve, not just for this season, but to actually plan for the future, to draft for the 23-24 seasons to come. Because like I said, Cam, Tyson are not getting any younger. So great depth at defensive line. That's one reason. Now let's carry on by looking at the defense. We need to continue to build an elite defense. And at the moment, we have a gap at strong safety, and we've got 2 solid cornerbacks. If you look at the cornerback and safety class, so the Draft Network here have combined cornerbacks and safeties. There is some real talent in this class. And it goes even deeper than this top 10. People not even on this list are the likes of Tariq Castro Fields, for example, Tariq Woolen, Jalen Armour Davis, Cam Taylor Britt, Kobe Bryant, for example. So let's look down this list. Ahmad Sauce Gardner, cornerback, lockdown cornerback. He will be gone in the top 5. He is that good. Derek Stingley could well be available at 20. A good cornerback coming out of LSU. Kyle Hamilton, I think, will go in the top 10. Brilliant safety out of Notre Dame. Trent McDuffie, cornerback, quality. Jaquan Brisker from Penn State, absolute beast, huge hitter, can play in the box, can drop back, can play strong safety, can play at free safety, can play wherever you want him to do. And he is a leader. He was captain of the defense last year for Penn State. Kyra Lamb, cornerback out of Florida. Dax Hill, one of my personal favorites, free safety out of Michigan, but could also play at strong safety and in nickel. He is a really hybrid safety, and he is lightning fast. Roger McCreary, cornerback, another good player. Again, could be available in the second round. Kyler Gordon at Washington, another very good cornerback. And one of my personal favorite cornerbacks, Andrew Booth Jr., who I've seen drop quite a few times to 20. Given the quality, again, in that class, the Steelers could well set themselves up at safety and cornerback for the long term. Go for someone like a Dax Hill or a Jaquan Brisker in the first or second round, and you've got a good quality cornerback, a good quality safety, there for the long term. Someone who's going to mature and work alongside and learn from the best safety in the game in Minkah Fitzpatrick. Look at the cornerback class. Someone like Andrew Booth, someone like Derek Stingley, Trent McDuffie, Roger McCreary. These are all guys who could really benefit the Steelers and become future cornerback ones, that lockdown corner that we really need, that we can put out on an island and leave him to cover top receivers from the opposition. The likes of, if you look at the AFC North, Jamar Chase, for example, Hollywood Brown, Amari Cooper, even going into the other league, like if we play teams in the AFC East, like Tyreek Hill, for example. So again, someone to cover those top level wide receivers. So again, big depth at cornerback, big depth at safety. And in the early rounds, you're getting real quality. Whereas if you took a quarterback, you wouldn't have the access to that. And you may need to trade away some other picks in this draft or in next year's draft to get your quarterback. There are, again, other positions of strength, and one of the biggest ones is wide receiver. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously have, on the moment, on their roster, 2 top-level wide receivers in Deontay Johnson, who has been a bit difficult, we may think, at this moment in time over his contract. Possibly. Don't know. It's all rumors. Chase Claypool, who really needs a bounce-back year after a pretty poor year last year. Hopefully, his head is back on the ground, and he is going to be more sensible and really show the talent that he showed in his rookie year this coming year. After that, we've got Miles Boykin, who we signed from waivers from Baltimore Ravens, Cody White, Stephen Sims, Tyler Vaughns, Rico Bussey. Behind those top 2, though, there is no real quality talent yet. Boykin could be, but we don't know, given the fact that he's obviously come off quite a few injuries for the Baltimore Ravens. So thinking about that, this draft class presents a real opportunity for the Pittsburgh Steelers to pick up some really good quality wide receivers, as I alluded to in my previous video. Just looking again at that top 10 in the wide receiver class, you've got Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave, Traylon Burks, Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, John Mechie III, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, who could be the steal of this draft. 6'5", 225 pounds, massive unit who moves at speed. Even in the later rounds, you've got some real good quality. Not on that list, Alec Pierce from Cincinnati, who continues, his draft stock continues to rise. Justin Ross from Clemson, Bo Melton, Tyquan Thornton, Velus Jones Jr., Tanner Connor, all quality players. But looking at that top 5, there are obviously a lot of first-round talent there the Steelers could get. And on a 5-year rookie contract, then it wouldn't have to pay the wide receiver money that is currently having to pay to the likes of Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, for example, who are earning $30 to $25 million a year. Jahan Dotson could be available in the early second with a bit of a trade-up. George Pickens, Sky Moore, Christian Watson in that second round would be really good pickups for the Pittsburgh Steelers and bring a real quality future wide receiver 1 to the franchise. So there is some real quality there in that wide receiver market. Again, the Steelers would be, I think, silly to miss out on those players. And I think taking a quarterback in the early rounds would lose our opportunity to go and get that quality wide receiver, that quality D lineman, and the quality cornerback, quality safety in those first 4 rounds and really strengthen this franchise for the future and build towards future success. Okay, so that's my thoughts. Of course, there are other positions there that you could easily draft. So what I did was I did a bit of a mock draft, and I know people don't like some people don't like mock drafts, some people do like them. What I did was I used PFN, and I took Daxton Hill at 20 as I felt he was going to be a great safety prospect. I would still sign someone like Terrell Edmonds in free agency, but Daxton Hill could learn alongside Minka and Terrell. Devontae Wyatt dropped to me in the second. I was over the moon with this, and like I said, Devontae Wyatt is a game wrecker. Justin Ross was someone who didn't appear on that list, but again, is a real good wide receiver prospect out of Clemson. Picked at pick 4, someone called Damari Mathis. Not on that list again, but Damari Mathis is a sleeper. If you watch this guy's pro day and watch some of his game tape, Damari Mathis out of Pitt Panthers has got real talent and a real opportunity to really impress in the future. So Damari Mathis for me would be a great pickup at cornerback. In the later rounds, I went for a second wide receiver in Bo Melton. Bo Melton's got great attitude. He's got fantastic speed. He is a great guy as well. I went for Ty Chandler then in the 6th round. Top of the 7th round, because I wanted to change the pace back for resting Najee for spelling Najee. And then a bit of edge depth there with the very fantastically named Zach Van Valkenburg. Love that name. So that was my mock draft. Anyway, so that's my thoughts, Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think we should take a quarterback in this draft because we have got some real talent in other positions, which would address positions of need and help us build the roster for the future. And that's what we've got to think about, the roster for the future. Like when we took Big Ben in 2004, that team was ready to win. Ben was the final piece. I think we need to put the jigsaw together and then at a later date, go for that quarterback who's going to be the final piece. That's my thoughts anyway. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Would you agree? Do you want to take a quarterback, or would you prefer not to take a quarterback in this draft? And remember, if you're watching this video and you haven't already, subscribe to the best new up-and-coming Pittsburgh Steelers channel, the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. Hit that subscribe button. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Goodbye here from the UK, and let's finish this as we always do with Here We Go Steelers.